Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome once again into the Brotherly Glove podcast. Two brothers from Philly talking all things Philly sports. We've seen it all, the best, the worst, the ups and downs, the various teams, players, coaches who have all come through Philly, the wins, the losses, all the heartbreak. We've watched it all. Oh, and for 30 combined years, we've covered it all in sports media. Johnny, I'm excited to be here like always. How you doing today, man?
Good. Ready to do this.
Dude, well, it's always exciting this time of year. The two bigger teams in Philly, I would say, with the Eagles and Phillies, they're both out of season, but still stuff to talk about them. And we are in the thick of things on the ice and on the hardwood. Just for a note out there for fans, we are recording this on Sunday. We're likely to release this episode later in the day, Monday or Tuesday, so Sunday the 1st. So if anything breaks, that's our excuse. In today's episode, a lot is going on with the Philly teams, both in season and out. Paul George of the Sixers suspended for 25 games for violating the NBA's drug policy. We will discuss how that impacts their stretch run. The Eagles finally made some coaching hires on the offensive side. They almost had to make some changes on the defensive side too. We'll let you know what that all means. But first, we're talking puck. That's right here on Brotherly Glove, we are talking Fly Guys. Flyers are in the middle of a tailspin. Fell from nearly the top of the standings in the East, just a few points out of first. Now they find themselves near the bottom of the conference. They have gone 2-8-3 in their last 13, firmly entrenched in a playoff spot. Suddenly, not looking too great. They sit 14 points behind the division and conference leaders, and they would have to do a lot in the next couple of weeks to even sniff the playoffs, let alone get back to where they were when we were excited about them a week or two ago. Johnny, I know we haven't watched every game. It's tough to do that with so much NBA and NHL going on at the same time. But, man, just a tough watch recently, and you can really feel it when you see the post game for the Flyers, huh?
Yeah, it's been a rough stretch. You can read it and hear it in Rick Tockett's comments, and it seems like even some of the players are backing that up. So maybe this Olympic break's coming up at a good time for them.
Well, it could be perfect timing, but even more perfect timing for us. I have a great friend, a coworker who is going to join us. You know, we know sports, but we like to lean on the experts in the field, and it doesn't get more expert than our next guest, my friend, my coworker. She is the lead Flyers writer for Philly Sports Network, where I write for the Phillies. She's a producer at WIP Radio in Philly. The one, the honorable Haleytsimon joining us today. Think I'm adding you, Haley. There we go. There it is. How's it going, Haley?
Hey, good. How are you? That was such a nice intro.
Of course. Hey, respect is earned around here. That's what I say, Haley. And you've done more than earning it by being on the ground all day. Before we get into the sort of free fall that the Flyers have been in, today in particular was a special day for the Flyers. The Flyers, I guess it's called the Charities Carnival now, formerly the Wives Carnival. Haley was down there representing WIP. So just kind of give us a feel for the day, because I know I've been down there as a fan before, and it's a special day for the Flyers community.
It is so cool, and it's hard to put it into words, but essentially for Flyers fans, they get the opportunity to just hang out with the players all day, see some of their favorite media personnel. And the nice thing about the Charities Carnival, in my opinion, is that if you just pay the entry ticket, which I believe it's about $25 to $30, which isn't bad, and all the money does go to charity. You can do the dunk tank for free. You can do the Ferris wheel, even though I won't go on that for free. You can do the merry-go-round for free. So there's a lot of free options. And while they do have different, I guess, levels of packages that you can buy to meet players, you could also just say hi to them as you're passing in the arena. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to get a cool experience. But for fans that maybe they look at games and it's like, hey, this is a little bit too expensive, you get an opportunity to go down for free parking and to see some of your favorite players. So it's a really cool thing, and I love being a part of it. This was the third year in the dunk tank. And
in the dunk tank.
They came up to
She became a target, John.
Oh, boy.
So they came up to me before I went in, and I was only supposed to go for 10 minutes this year because last year and the year prior I did 15. And they were like, hey, do you want to do 30 minutes? And I'm like, let's do it. I think I did like 35 minutes this year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Well,
I cut
I
myself.
can't believe you're recovered right now. This is
my body is sore. I'm like, oh, is this what it's like getting old? It sucks. It sucks. Like it's not good, but we're here.
Well, it's good that we have you, Haley. So I'm glad that the young fans didn't abuse it too much in the dunk tank, and you could join us here on the Brotherly Glove Show. We talked about it real quick before I brought you on. A really rough stretch of things, and I was surprised at how much Coach Tocchet really was kind of open about his feelings today. You know, especially on a day like today, having media there, it's supposed to be mostly positive, but you knew that the questions were coming with the way that the team has been as of late. So a question for you as far as just your takeaway from watching this team closely day in and day out. What has been the issue for a team that felt so promising just a couple weeks ago?
And I feel bad for fans that did feel that there was promise and potential, because all along, and I hate to be like, I was right, because I don't want to be right in this. There was a lot of issues with this Flyers team heading into this season. I don't believe that they did enough at all in the offseason. And I think when you have a team that does have some really talented players, I can't deny that a guy like a Michkov isn't talented. He is. Konechny is talented. Zegers is talented. And the main issue is the defense. That's been the main issue. But also, too, you also have extended players that are not scoring. You have problems when it comes to who you have in net. So fundamentally, you weren't going to be necessarily on paper a playoff contending team, but then you had moments where you looked like one. And this happens every season. Like, it's like this little burst of energy and then it goes away. And I don't know if it's so much Tocchet to blame rather than the management. And I hate to say that because I do like Briere and Jones. But I mean, they haven't made the playoffs since 2019, 2020, and that was bubble hockey. So fans haven't seen playoff hockey in Philadelphia for close to a decade now, if we're going to be really honest about where they're at. So I do understand that level of frustration, because it's like, yep, another wasted season, so to say. Even though I do believe that this is, quote unquote, the final year of the rebuild, because this is a huge offseason for free agency. It's going to be one of the biggest trade deadlines I think we're going to see. And if they don't get it done, then you can't call it a rebuild. You're just going to have to call yourselves the new Buffalo Sabres.
And the Flyers,
Ooh.
the Flyers aren't expected to be active at this trade deadline, right?
It's so weird, because Jones was like, oh, well, the players are going to dictate whether, we trade or we sell, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what that means when you are the president of hockey operations and you're basically saying it comes down to what the players dictate. You have to make that decision. Like, we know who these players are. I think that, honestly, if they traded a guy like Nick Seeler, that would shake things up a lot in the locker room. I think he is one of the biggest locker room guys. And I think if you get rid of him and his presence, you're going to show the rest of the team, hey, we mean business. But again, who knows what they're going to do? If I were the Flyers, I would sell and get some more cap space heading into this offseason.
Okay.
Well, it's one of the guys that people thought they might sell just got extended by 5 years in Dvorak. What were your thoughts on that deal? Because that happened. I don't think the two are related at all, but that happened on January 5th. And since that date, they have 2 wins.
I thought it was weird, to be honest with you. Christian Dvorak, he's been fine, but he's not a franchise changing type of player. He's not going to change the dynamics of this team. I thought the money was ridiculous. I thought the 5 years was ridiculous. I did not agree with it. And it is funny because a lot of us in the press box, we do kind of joke around that, hey, since they've signed Dvorak and to that extension, it's not been good. I don't get why they did that, to be honest with you. And Danny did hold like this mini presser right after he did it. And again, like you can say all the right things. Sure, he's been fine this season, but does it make sense in the long run? The answer is no.
It felt a little weird. I know that they already had Couturier locked up for a while, and people were questioning whether with a team on a rebuild, like everybody loves him, but is that the right move? And then you add another guy. I know that the money doesn't sound like a lot when you talk about other sports, but you're tying yourself to two guys for the next 5 years at 13 mil a season. Are they really the guys to take your team to the next level and guide these young guys in some of the issues that the coach was talking about today? Where, I mean, he straight up said Michkov, who's supposed to be the next star of this franchise, didn't show up to camp in shape, and that you cannot play your way into shape. Like, just starting behind the 8 ball, he was never going to catch up. And he then emphasized, like, not everybody, it's not just him, everybody on the team who's young needs to learn how to become a professional in the hockey world. Are those two guys, even if they're not the stud players that you might hope guys on 5-year guarantees would be, are they mature veterans enough to help guide these guys to surpass them on the depth chart? Or is it still, even looking at it from a different angle like that, is it still like, I don't understand the move regardless of how you look at it?
Couturier, yes, just because Couturier has been, and when I say like the old Flyers system, I'm talking about the Flyers team that was tough back in the day. Dvorak, he's too new of a face for me to say. I think for a player like Michkov, it's very beneficial that he is around very serious players, and I don't believe that they're not serious, but I think that he's in a different kind of level. The best way to describe Michkov is he thrived off of John Tortorella's coaching style because of John Tortorella's personality. And I think Michkov, again, I think, let me say this.
Okay.
I think it's very unfair that the head coach is bringing up his weight heading into training camp when this has been something that's been said all season about him time and time again. It's been that he's put on weight. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a young kid. While, yes, he is a professional athlete, what else can he do about it now? It is February. Like, for that to be something that he brings up time and time again, I mean, there's plenty of guys that I have seen throughout the seasons that have showed up to camp not in the best shape. And they don't get called out like this. So I think it is unfair in that sense. And I get that Tocchet's not going to play Michkov the minutes just because it's Matvei Michkov, and he's made that very clear. But I think bringing up something from training camp and going back to that is like the main point at this time of the year is also just, it's not the best taste. But being said, I think that if there's anybody that could guide Michkov and show him how to handle these type of situations, why not Couturier?
So what's up with Couturier? So Forster's been out for now 29 games, and that almost started like this longer skid they've had. But Couturier has gone 27 games without a goal. So the guy who's leading the team in goals gets hurt, and then Sean Couturier doesn't score almost the entire time. What do you see, or what are they saying about his performance? And it's not all on him to pick up the slack, but I think a goal here and there would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be, but this is typical Sean Couturier. In the beginning of the season, he was actually playing really, really well. And I feel like, again, his type of game, he's not a big scorer. And this is the issue with him, is that you put the C on somebody that doesn't generate a lot offensively. And it's not a diss to Couturier, but I think if he didn't have the C on him, maybe we wouldn't be putting this type of pressure or having this type of standard that we do when it comes to our captain. He's older, like I'm not surprised that his game has gone downhill a little bit. But again, going that many games without a goal, I mean, I'm not surprised. And I sound very negative, and I'm not trying to, but when you see the same things happen over and over and over again every single season, and then the organization, I mean, I'm not blaming them, but it's just they obviously see something that they like. I mean, he is very good in the locker room. He has a lot of experience. There's a lot of positives with Sean Couturier. I just think that he's not the type of guy that's going to be putting the puck in the back of the net anytime soon.
It's interesting, Haley. You mentioned the guys coming in out of shape, and coach specifically said that you can't play your way into shape. But it has also been publicly noted multiple times that Michkov is not participating in the Olympics. And during that break, not only he's not going home either. He's not going to visit family. He's staying here to continue to hone himself. Do you think that maybe the coach was bringing it up again now conveniently? Like, hey, dude, don't forget, like, you have an opportunity here while most of our team is off participating in the Olympics, which is a great honor. You have a chance to get here and get yourself right. Do you think there's anything in there like that, or has there been more has this been brought up more times and I just haven't noticed it until recent?
Yeah, just kind of recently. I think for Michkov, though, and it's interesting that Tocchet brings it up, right? Because he puts so much pressure on himself. And I know that he went home this past off season, and again, young kid, professional athlete. I'm not going to judge anyone. I get it. But since he's been back, I mean, he's very disciplined and he's very hard on himself, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. So, with media, right? And it's interesting. I know that, but I appreciate the transparency and the honesty that these coaches give to us. I do. But sometimes maybe it's best to keep some things just between you and the player. And that's what that's what Tortorella did. He kept it a lot between him and the player, maybe a little bit too much. But I always get iffy when it's comments about being in shape and weight. Okay, you said it once. I just don't want Michkov to – I just want him to be very safe and healthy about everything, essentially. But I think he's going to take it seriously.
He's very far away from home, already puts a lot of pressure on himself. You'd hope that the coach would understand his mentality and know what buttons to push. So hopefully these are him pushing the right buttons and not the wrong ones, but time will tell, right?
And, Igor Zamula, who they got rid of, was actually a good friend of Michkov's. And, Michkov has people. He has support here, obviously. But, again, you just have to be careful. You don't want to, push the wrong buttons. But I don't know what they talk about. I'm sure that they have a good relationship. And I don't know. But, it's weird, right? Like, looking from, an outside perspective, it's like, wow, that's, kind of crazy. Like, imagine, if Nick Sirianni said that about Jalen Hurts and all the controversy that would come out of that. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, that would be the link might burn down if that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be a riot in the streets.
Yeah,
I got two quick hockey questions. Did you guys see the goalie fight that happened about an hour ago down in Tampa?
No, I didn't see it.
So cool.
It was great. I looked over. I had it on and was walking around and sat back down. And I was like, I think he's. Yep, there they go. It was good.
It was so cool.
Yeah, it was good.
You asked the second question. I'm looking up this fight.
Did you guys catch? Did you catch the scene in Happy Valley yesterday for the outdoor game, Michigan State and Penn State?
Oh yeah,
it's a rough weekend for Penn State as the host, losing Friday night and then again outdoors in overtime. But the scene looked awesome, and some of the pictures are great.
Outdoor hockey's the best.
I've said for years. So I went there a while ago, but we've been saying all this time when they started the outdoor games that Beaver Stadium would be such a natural spot for a Penguins Flyers game. And I don't know if it's ever been discussed or cool. Me and my friends have been saying that for 25 years, not to sound like any, soothsayers or anything, but they just showed you can do it at Beaver Stadium. And it's obviously it's here to stay in the NHL. I hope that happens soon. I think it'd be great.
That would be so cool. I would enjoy that. That'd be so cool, actually.
The Winter Classic, I was lucky enough to sell beer at the Winter Classic. Got to see some cool moments when it was at Citizens Bank Park. The most disappointing part, and this is a very selfish thing, is that everybody got cool event-specific gear. All the employees, all the Phillies employees who were ushers, all the Flyers employees who came over. There was a delay in shipping the vendors' stadium's Winter Classic jackets and hats that we were going to get. So the only people who got no gear from that event are all the beer vendors who were the most active during the event. So I'm a little bummed. Yeah, it's. Other than that, that was great.
That's awful. I would be. Did they ever give it to you like
No,
afterwards?
they canceled the order because it was. They were like, well, we don't need it now. I was like, this is
Oh, that's so
BS.
mean.
I was so mad. Oh
So
man.
anything we should be looking forward to in the with this Olympic break coming up, whether it's like Olympic hockey or just the Flyers getting a break to try and reset for the stretch?
I was gonna make a joke, and I was gonna say at least Flyers fans don't have to worry about watching any more losses or getting scored on first. But during the Olympic break, I would say to keep an eye on Travis Sanheim for Team Canada. I'm going to be highly invested in Team Canada. I also cover the Blues, so I have Jordan Binnington in net, so I'll be watching a lot of Team Canada hockey. Risto, I'm not okay. I was about to be like, I'm going to be very careful with what I say. I think that he might be traded, honestly. So while I felt that way for the last couple of seasons now, and I don't have like any inside sources on that. It's just kind of a gut feeling when looking at the roster.
Yeah.
So I personally won't be watching him too much in the Olympics, but I mean, if you want me to be completely honest, I think that this break it's going to be a really nice time for Flyers fans to maybe look at some of the prospects overseas or in the AHL and just kind of take a break from what's going on right here, right now. And I think that's the best way to go about it.
And hopefully it does the same for the team too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it sucks because the Flyers, I mean, they showed a lot of promise in the early-ish, middle-ish of the season. And I want to see playoff hockey as a reporter. I have never seen the Flyers in playoff hockey since I've been covering them. So selfishly, I do want that. And it's been 5 years and it sucks, but it is what it is. And I know that the fans, the season ticket holders, the people that watch the games on TV, the people that listen on their wherever, like every single fan wants to see their team in the playoffs. And when you get like a glimpse of hope that it might happen, and all of a sudden it's like an almost 10-game losing streak, I get the frustration and I sympathize with the fan base. And I feel like that's my biggest issue in being media is that I'm so neutral about everything that sometimes I forget how the fans feel. And I'm like, oh, well, I knew they were never going to make the playoffs. And then I'm like, wait, like that must really suck for the fan base.
Yeah.
So I do sympathize and I hope for the fans they do get to see playoff hockey soon. I don't know when. It's always 2 to 3 years, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, if they miss it this year, it'll be the longest playoff drought in franchise history.
Ooh,
yeah.
Damn. Well, 28 games left in the season and 2 until that break. Just out of the break is the trade deadline. I know you touched on it real quick, but they win these 2 games and go to the Olympic break on a high note, and Michkov comes the next time we see him after the break, he looks like he's faster and stronger than ever. Do you want this team to push all in, or is it like, look, let's pump the brakes. We were lucky to be in this spot. If you see a strategic guy who has a few years left, maybe we make that deal, but let's worry about moves in the offseason and let this play out. Where are you leaning? Which direction should they go at the deadline?
I think it's only going to be a couple players. I only think it's going to be Steeler or Ristolainen. It's hard to say. I think it's going to be a very bland trade deadline, if you want to be honest. I don't think it's going to be anything exciting. There's going to be a lot of other teams that are going to have very exciting trade deadlines. And you can already tell which teams will, but just based off of the insider. And I'm not even saying like specific team wise. I'm saying national media wise. Because they talk to agents and they know what's going on. There's been nothing with Philadelphia. And yeah, so I mean, and I'm reading all the time. I have my notifications on, like I am up to it. And I have not seen a single Flyers player mentioned. So that shows me that if it is a guy like Nick Seeler, I hate to be like nobody knows who he is outside the Flyers, but he's not the most well-known hockey player. So I don't think any national media members are going to be like, oh, Flyers are going to make a big move at the deadline. Like they're not going to do that. And if the Flyers do make a move, it won't be like, it would just be like prospects or something insignificant.
All right. Well, we got plenty of time to see how it plays out. Haley, we'll likely be talking to you again between now and then, or maybe
Yeah, we
just
hope
after the
so.
deadline.
I hope so too.
If you'll come back, we'll definitely have you back. Quick thing before we let you go, Haley. I mentioned PSN. You mentioned you do stuff for the Blues. Tell everybody where they can find you because you seem to be all over the place nowadays.
I am. And it's fun though. But you can find me on Twitter at Haleytsimon. I do stuff with PSN, Hockey Hot Stove, Locked on Blues. Yeah, that's all the hockey stuff. So thank God because it's a lot. But yeah, find me on Twitter. I usually just vent about literally the Phillies, Flyers, Eagles, and sometimes Sixers. But you know.
She avoids our PSN Phillies chat because we're all too reasonable sometimes in there.
After no more Maxi Kepi and no more Harrison Bader, and then Nick Castellanos is most likely going to be set. Like, what are we doing? Like,
We'll
the
have
Phillies.
You back for that.
Nothing makes me more upset than the Philadelphia Phillies. And then Ranger is now with Boston, and then Bryce Harper's being all weird again. He's like the new
face
Aaron
mask
Rodgers.
thing was like, what is happening? Yeah, it was a little weird, but I like the not elite shirt. I'll take that with the rest of it for sure.
Yeah, I'll take that too. But man, I mean, this baseball team. We have baseball next month. Well, pitchers and catchers this month. Woo, baseball.
Yeah. Well, we'll have you back on so you can vent about them too, for sure.
For
Haley.
sure.
Make sure you give Haley a follow at Haleytsimon. She is a great follow on Twitter. We talked about all the hockey stuff. She will vent about the Phillies. She also does some fun live reactions to WWE. I'm a big wrestling fan, so to see you jump in there was awesome. So, hey, there you go. I waited too long on tickets. They're still crazy. I'm going to check tomorrow, but they're crazy right now.
I'm making a sign for Liv because that's my favorite woman wrestler, and she won the Rumble. And then I'm hoping Dominic shows up because I have never been to a live event without Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, okay. That would be nice.
So if he doesn't show up tomorrow, it's not going to be good.
All right. Out. Well, I already follow you, so I'll make sure to see your reactions. Anybody who loved Haley's moment here on the Brotherly Glove, make sure you go give her a follow. The Honorable Haley Taylor-Simon. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, Haley.
We'll talk
to you soon.
Thanks, guys. All right. Haley Taylor-Simon joining us. Great to have Haley on the show. John, I mean, doesn't get much better than that, right? We got the lead Flyers writer for PSN for Metro Philadelphia on with us. But next week we got another big name coming in to talk some Olympic hockey, to talk some NHL. Why don't you tell the people a little tease for who we got coming next week?
Next week, the one and only Adnan Verk is going to join us. He's the host of Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey and also the host of his own podcast, NHL Unscripted, Verk and Demers podcast. He also is an MLB Tonight. He's host of MLB Tonight on MLB Network. They won the Emmy Award 2 years ago, I think, for Best Daily Studio Show. So he's an Emmy Award winning host. I think baseball, he grew up on hockey and baseball is his favorite sport. And he is also a Flyers fan. So he will be the perfect person to talk hockey, talk Olympics, and talk Flyers. So we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, excited for that. Obviously excited to have Haley on the show as well. And we'll have her again on in the future. We talked about it at the top, John, not the only sport with things going on. Eagles might be out of season, but they finally hired some coaches on the offensive side of the ball. Tell the people out there who the Eagles have brought in to be the offensive coordinator.
About an hour after we did our last podcast talking about the candidates, they hired Packers quarterback coach Sean Mannion, former quarterback himself. He's been a coach the last 2 years. I don't know much about him. He's never called plays. I know there was a lot of stuff going around. There were some really good breakdowns out there on Twitter of people diving into his it was the Senior Bowl. He was the coach and the play caller. So they broke down the game, and I saw people breaking down some of the practice film and stuff they were doing. So
wow.
Really fun stuff by some really smart people if you want to track that down. What I like is he's a recent player. He's a young guy. He played at Oregon State, as a player in the NFL. He played under coaches like Sean McVay was his head coach. Matt LaFleur was his OC. Liam Cohen, Zach Taylor were offensive assistants on his teams. Later, Kevin Stefanski was his OC, and Clint Kubiak was his quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. And then last 2 years in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur was the head coach, and he worked under him. So he's got some really good experience with some really bright guys. 5 of them are current head coaches after guys being hired this offseason. So doesn't have any play calling experience, but obviously the Eagles liked what they saw and liked what they heard, and I'm excited to have a guy come in like that and inject some new stuff into this offense.
Yeah, my favorite thing that I saw was just someone just tweeted out the number of hitch routes that the two teams ran. That's been like the story of the end of the season and the playoffs was all the hitch routes, and the Green Bay was near the bottom of the league in calling hitch routes, and the Eagles were at the top. So it'll be interesting. They really do believe in using motion to identify what's next, and hopefully, or what the defense is showing you, and hopefully that can continue. They also made another hire, Josh Grizzard, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator last season. Now he was let go, so I don't know your thoughts on hiring a guy who had 1 year of play calling and then let go, and he's not even coming in to be the play caller. He's going to be the pass game coordinator, but he was the pass game coordinator under Liam Cohen when Cohen was the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, and so he's learned a lot from good coaches down there as well. He was a guy who they were interested in as the OC, so to bring him in to assist a guy in Mannion who will be a first-time play caller. I think that should help. I think there will be some early bumps in the road, but I think that if they can get A.J. Brown on board early and maybe force feed him the ball a little bit, that should help some of the issues that they seem to face both on and off the field last season.
Yeah, and Grizzard is coached under Cohen and Mike McDaniel, so I'm sure those guys will work well together. That seems like a good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, man, that whole McVay Shanahan system is really has taken over, and for those guys to be a part of that, but also get some influences elsewhere is really nice. Another thing, I mean, just to kind of the extra juice for Eagles fans, Nick Foles was actually teammates with Mannion when they were both with the Rams under Jeff Fisher, and he said that he was extremely impressed by Mannion early on just as a guy because he was like a sponge for knowledge. He wanted information all the time. Even when he was the backup, when he was the third stringer, when he was filling in. I mean, you don't last 9 years as a backup only throwing 36 passes unless you are a bright mind to keep around to help your team. Obviously, you want to be there and trusted in an emergency to go on the field, but typically you can find a guy who can just do that and be a body. When you have a backup who's sitting there working with the QB1 during the game, reviewing film during the game, so when the QB comes off the field, they're ready to go. Clearly, that's a bright mind, and we talked about the influence already. I think it has potential to be very good for the Eagles. The big question is how patient will they be when they're in win-now mode? So if they are truly going to be year to year and like, look, if it struggles again next year, we're going to figure somebody else out. We'll have to deal with that when it comes. Nobody really knows what it's going to look like. Of course, fans are saying this is the guy who's the insurance in case they want to fire Nick. But I think people have been ready to fire Nick since he talked about planning a garden during his introductory press conference. So the winningest coach in franchise history, that we shouldn't be in a rush to get rid of him. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Last thing on the Eagles before we move on. I don't know if you saw this report, John. Philly Voice, and then one of our guys, Justin from PSN, Justin Crosby from PSN, excuse me, confirmed the reports from Jimmy Kempsey from Philly Voice that apparently Vic Fangio this past season had considered retirement both multiple times during the season and as soon as the season was over. Now, it does seem like they have decided or convinced him rather to come back for one more season. But Kempsey updated his piece and said, while that's what he was told, people close to Fangio have not confirmed that. And the team officials have also not confirmed that he will definitely be back next season. The main reason I bring it up, not only is because of the impact that he's had, but to potentially be losing him and also lose out on DB coach Christian Parker, who was hired as the defensive coordinator down in Dallas with the Cowboys. a lot of people assume that Parker would be next up behind Fangio. And if he brought this up during the season as a potential thing he was mulling over, retirement, it feels like a bigger loss when Parker walks out the door when you're unsure what your DC is going to do this coming season. Does it not, or am I overthinking it, or is it just like, look, this is how the game works when you have an older DC and a hotshot position coach?
No, I'm sure you'd like to have, more guys staying on board, but I mean, it would be the same thing. Like you'd like your offensive coordinator to work out and him to stay around. So, I mean, also if everyone's going to complain about hiring an offensive coordinator who's never called plays, has Parker ever called the defensive plays? So, all of a sudden we all want this guy to stay. He might be great. I have no idea. And he obviously impressed another team to get that gig. But I think the previous guy who coordinated an Eagles Super Bowl defense is available. So maybe this is the right time for the Eagles defensive coordinator to walk away.
Oh, who knows, man. Yeah, not a whole lot of opinion there. Obviously, like we're not going to know more until Vic 100% commits to a decision one way or the other. But obviously, it would be a big loss regardless of who's behind him, because we see the impact that he's had in such a short time in Philly.
Yep.
Other big news. We're going to flip over to the hardwood unless you got anything else left on the birds, Johnny.
Please stay, Vic.
Please stay, Vic. Maybe that's the thing that Schefter was teasing. We still haven't found that yet, so we'll find out on Wednesday. But
if that's coming out, I would imagine Schefter was sniffing around that.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna hop over to the hardwood now. Sixers. We talked about how good they've looked. Embiid looking like his old self. Maxey really running the show. Edgecombe really looking impressive as a rookie. McCain starting to find his stroke again. Paul George looking like himself. Oh no. News breaks. Paul George suspended 25 games on Saturday for violating the drug policy with the NBA. George did say in a statement that he took an improper medication to deal with a mental health issue. He has been very open about mental health struggles in the past. I am not here to discuss the medication itself. A report has not been released about what he tested positive for. I would assume that would likely stay private if neither the NBA nor he talked about it in their statement. But clearly a big blow to a team that was really rolling in the 76ers.
Yeah. We talked before about how it's been great having him back on the court. I mean, he tied the franchise record with 9 threes in that big win the other night.
Yeah.
It'll be a loss, but here's what I looked at. So I'm just looking at the most used lineups they've had that don't have George, and one I would expect to go for, but their best. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at 5 lineups. Their 5 most used 5-man lineups without Paul George are plus 12.7 net rating. The second one is minus 14. That's the lineup that includes Andre Drummond and Barlow. I don't know how much we would see that going forward. But then there's the next one with Embiid is plus 19.9. There's another one with Drummond, but also Oubre, Grimes, Maxey, and Edgecombe. That seems like a really, most of those guys are out there quite a bit. That's plus 19.8. And then the next one, it's with Adem Bona. They're plus 31 net rating in 41 minutes together. So you want Paul George, especially if he's playing well, but what we've seen is their most used non-Paul George lineups have been really good. So if that's the impetus and that's the way to sneak Jared McCain and get him more minutes, and he's shown some flashes the last couple of weeks, then I kind of think they'll be all right.
Yeah, they do seem like they have an opportunity to survive here, and unlike in baseball, this suspension won't prevent Paul George from playing in the postseason. So he'll have a few weeks off here to get himself right and healthy. And he did say that that's what he's focused on, just making sure he's healthy to help the team at the end of the year. He should have about 10 games left to ramp up before the playoffs would start. I know Maxey reportedly went right to work. He immediately texted the young players, Barlow being one of them, and said, hey, it's on y'all. Like, we got to step up, right? It's on all of us. We got to do what we got to do. Like, next man up mentality. And you really saw that this team has thrived under that early in the season when they didn't have Paul George, when they didn't have Joel Embiid with any sort of regularity. These guys did step up and kept this team afloat without him, which is something that you have not seen in prior Joel Embiid injured seasons. So when you add the context to just my general feeling and thought watching this team the last couple of years, it really does feel like this is, it sounds crazy to say this, but this is a survivable section of the season, even without one of your big three.
Yeah, and I think what Edgecombe, like if that gets him up the pecking order a little bit and gets him a little bit more involved, I think there's no problem there either.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't complain.
His shots are definitely down over the last month, so if it gets him a little bit more involved, then they've got they're actually, the way it looks, I mean, they might be well prepared to weather this, and then you incorporate George back into things going in the playoffs.
And they didn't have a problem incorporating him when he wasn't around early in the season either. So I do have faith, like you said, that if he's still around, that's something that they can definitely survive, and it could be beneficial to the team in the long term if Edgecombe really steps up and is able to take advantage of that increased pressure and increased minutes.
Yeah.
A couple other things to consider. We do have the trade deadline coming up. We hinted at previously, like if Giannis were available, you'd be willing to consider Paul George in there. Now, to make money work with any superstar, not guaranteeing that they would do this, he is still a tradable asset, and with being under control for a couple more years, maybe a team would be willing to take him in a trade if they have somebody that they're looking to unload, like the Bucks do with Giannis. Not saying that it's a guarantee that would happen, but he is still a tradable asset with how much money he is owed, with money having a match in the NBA.
Yep.
Also, while it will cost him money, it will also save the Sixers money. They'll receive a luxury tax credit of just under $6 million. That brings their luxury tax from above. They're just about $7 million above the luxury tax. This would bring it closer to $1.3 million. So it should be easier for them to get under the tax if they wanted to. However, right before the suspension, Joel Embiid was very public about saying that he hopes the team isn't just trying to do that. So I don't think that this will make a huge difference in their approach at the deadline. But John, what are your thoughts on the financial implications?
I don't know if it's going to change anything for them, but the thing that stood out to me was Embiid's very not cryptic comments. He said we've spent years ducking the luxury tax, and for that to happen and that to be one of the first, and it's relevant, but for that to be one of the first news things that came up, that's interesting. And I don't know if he had a feeling they were going to do that again, or thoughts that's going to happen again. I don't know if this changes their calculus going into the deadline. I don't know if they feel like they need another piece somewhere. So I don't know. I wouldn't go crazy and break out. And the thing Embiid also said was, we want to give this group a chance. He really likes this group, and man, he's playing so well. It's really good. So I'm not broken up about it. Just looking at this lineup stuff and seeing the guys they have and thinking, McCain gets a little more and Edgecombe takes some more shots, and I think they're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, man, it's been really fun to watch them for sure. It'll be a different feel with Paul George. I think that although his numbers aren't what you might have expected in Indiana or the early years with the Clippers, his impact on the defensive end was huge. And I'm a little concerned when I know Edgecombe he is good defensively, but with a rookie, sometimes you just get beat. It's just the nature of the NBA. Tyrese, not necessarily known to be the greatest defender. Joel, still obviously a good defender, but still kind of ramping up on that side of the ball. So you hope that some of these guys like Barlow and others can step up on that end of the court as much as they can, taking some of Georgia's shots.
But all that being said, they got a really tough stretch coming up. They got a 5-game road trip that starts on Monday. Clippers, who I know their season record isn't that great, but they've been really good lately. Warriors, Lakers, Suns. They end the road trip in Portland, but then they come home to face the Knicks. And then they've got road games coming up right after the break in Minnesota, at Boston, and then they host the Spurs. Like this is a really tough stretch. So if they're going to be tested for sure.
Yeah, I don't, like you said, I don't anticipate that they would change their calculus at the deadline and all with this move, but maybe you see an additional fringe move or something to really solidify. I know that Barlow and Walker with it should be a little bit easier to get them turned into full contracts. and then they would still have room to add a player during the suspension and kind of kick the can on making a decision on the roster overall now that with Georgia's suspension.
Yeah, so it's interesting. They're going to be on the West Coast. They play the Clippers late tomorrow night, and then the trade deadline hits on Tuesday before they play at Golden State. So a lot happening in the next 2 days.
Well, biggest thing for me when it comes to them during this stretch is they still got to do what we talked about a couple weeks ago, avoid that play-in. Even if they finish 6th, if they can avoid that play-in, that should do a lot for them. And hopefully they can do that and get a healthy George. And if Embiid can, obviously the biggest thing is Embiid staying healthy for their playoff success. But I think that could be, if they can stay out of that 7, 8, 9, 10 range, if they can stay 6th or above, they should be in pretty good shape whenever Paul George comes back. And then most importantly, hope that whatever he was dealing with that made him feel like he had to step out of his comfort zone and take something that is not used to taking. Hopefully that is all taken care of during his time off as well.
Yep.
Well, Johnny, another great week of on the field, on the court, on the ice, and off the field, off the court, off the ice action. And of course, it's always a good week when I get to hop on here with you. We had the honorable Haleytsimon join us earlier. Johnny teased it. We'll have Adnan Burke on the show next week. So a packed schedule coming up. And we just appreciate you guys for showing us support and love along the way. Johnny, it's been another great episode of the Brotherly Glove Podcast. You got anything to say to the people on the way out the door?
Nope.
Please stay Vic. That's all I got for you, man. Appreciate you, Johnny. Appreciate our guest, Haley, and appreciate all of you out there. This has been another edition of the Brotherly Glove Podcast, and we'll talk to you in the next one.